Hello there everybody and welcome back to another video. Today's video will be talking about Jojo's Bizarre Adventure Steel Ball Run, and we'll be breaking down Hirohiko Araki's art style, and in this part will be very much different than the previous parts because Hirohiko Araki had elevated his art style and there have been some different incorporation and more shaping in comparison to the previous parts. So grab your pencil and let's go, because it's going to be a bit of a long video here on the way, and I try to do the study in a real-time video because I'm thinking of breaking part 7 art style and part 8 into multiple videos that I'll be hopefully dropping throughout this week. So feel free to subscribe, give a like, and if you have a comment or any suggestion ahead that could help me improve the content of the channel, so just drop it down. So without further ado, let's start with the video. First of all, I've been receiving a lot of comments about the intro, so I'm quite bothered with how the intro looks like. So I thought it would be better to change it and make it quite better. And I'll take your notes. If you have any suggestion on how to improve the channel, just leave a comment, let me know, so we can improve the channel, and I hope it shares and it reaches everybody, because that's what I intended to do with helping everybody with this channel. So now we start the video with the first panel here from Steel Ball Run, and if you haven't read Steel Ball Run and you're afraid of spoilers, don't worry, it's spoiler free. Just look at the picture and then forget it. The point of this picture, just to break down everything Araki does in this part into multiple different shapes and try to understand the art style, because it's quite a bit drastically different than part 3 and part 4 all the way to part 7. What I've noticed in part Steel Ball Run art style, how the art style changed, it started to incorporate more of quite of a three-dimensional shape in comparison to the previous parts. Even when you look at the face, for example, in this example with Johnny Joestar, I've noticed that there are a lot of incorporated shapes that build up the face of the character, and there's a lot of cross-hatching, like a very good cross-hatching. If you wonder what's cross-hatching, I don't have a good explanation for it, but it's a technique that's mostly used to help out give a three-dimensional shape, and also it helps with shading. And speaking of shading as well, I noticed that Hirohiko Araki didn't do as well break down the face, the shadows of the face, into multiple different things, So if you notice that the central area here of the Johnny Joestar's face between the eyebrows, it tends to have a bit of oval, like circular shape, and the same thing goes with the nose, and the same thing with the lips. If you have seen the previous video I did on how to draw the lips for Jojo's characters, you should check it out. And here I see almost a similar example that I've noticed in the previous parts, where you see that most of the lips are made of like about 5 circles to 6 circles, and they are a bit pulled from the 2 sides of it as well. Because if you look at the anatomy of the face, there are like muscles from both sides, that pull the mouth, from like it's like a little, attach, and that's like the only thing in between, so it gives like a full, thicker lips, like in his drawing. And what is very much strikingly different in this part is the shape of the nose, because it tends to be more realistic, That's like the biggest sign you see in how Araki elevated his art, And here the nose, as you see, it's made of 3 different shapes, like 1 central circle and 2 circles from the side, and they're all linked up, together in a shape that looks like a rocket, And if I'm gonna try to speed up so you see how much, and there are a lot of different shapes here, from triangular to like very much abstract shapes that make up the character. And also there's a bit of different things, if you notice, in the eyes as well. The eyes here are built a little bit different, quite similar to what we did in the previous parts and what I've tried to pull in the previous videos, but there's a little different. It's very hard to notice and it's very hard to explain it. And I'm thinking of doing a video on how to draw eyes for part 7 and part 8, because it's more of, it has more, I would say, eyelashes in comparison, So now, after I'm finishing up breaking up the whole face, I'm gonna remove the layer with the manga, where you can see how it's the whole full face with the grid line, the structural lines. And I'm gonna try to speed up so you see how I'm building up my characters using the same structures that Araki uses in this part. And we're gonna, here you go. And I'm trying to use the same thing, you know, because like I'm using the ball, I'm gonna draw a ball here with the same cross-hatching way that he uses it. So you see how much is cross-hatching helping up improving the shape of the character here. So as you see now, well, also I think another thing I've noticed, it's sometimes I think I would put it up to debate, you know, but I believe that Hirohiko Araki usually, I think he uses digital, I think, art in creating his characters, because the lines are quite clean, I think I would say too good, you know, and especially the shading. And maybe, if I'm not wrong, could be the shading, he could have done it digitally, you know, but there's some clean, more better line, like in comparison to part 5, I would say part 4, which seems, the art set seems a little bit quite messy and not very much a lot of cross-hatching, but in part 7 it's more detailed, if you notice, you know, like the face, the jaw, the anatomy, you know. You know, it's very, I would say, I'll bring another example where you all guys can see everything in a better perspective. So here's a panel I have of Zeppeli. I wouldn't spoil the names, I think I spoiled Johnny, but it doesn't matter. Here we have a different dimension here. The character does not look straight up to the face, it looks in a different direction. And I will try to do the same thing I did with the previous example, where you guys can see everything in a better, clear way, you know, including like the lines and dimensional lines here as well. So now I'm gonna do the same thing I did here, with the eyes, with everything. And you can see how much is more three-dimensional the art style here in comparison to the previous part, because you can see different, I would say, more details to the face and more into it than what you see in part 6 or part 5 or in part even 2, you know, because like there's a big difference, because the inspiration I think Araki pulls throughout his career as a manga artist are differentiated. Because if you look at part 1, you have Fist of the North Star, you have some old classic 80s anime, and a little bit of, you know, Greek gods, you know, kind of a mix, kind of Leonardo da Vinci, you know, kind of mix. But here it's more of artistic, where like it feels like he abandoned the old anime reference, and there's more focus on the Leonardo da Vinci's reference, because his characters are more extra beautiful, I would say. They seems more, I would say, soft and more powerful. It's like a beautiful balance between the both things, you know, a personality-wise and artistic technicality. Yeah. And I think it's more, I think it's not much of fashion reference. I think it's fashion here. As I've talked about in the previous video, it's more of the posing mechanism for him. Like, again, his characters are like, you know, fashion models, where he's like, can you pose, ask them to pose for him, you know. So here I'm gonna try to incorporate the same now cross-hatching that I've used in the previous parts, so you see how much the character here I've built a bit different. I think I wanna make something that look like cars kind of thing, you know, with like his long hair or maybe vanilla eyes, you know. But I want you guys to see how much different here in comparison to the previous examples. And now I'm going to bring another different example here with the manga panel after finishing this one. So here we have Gyro and Johnny facing off, and I want to try to do the same thing I've tried with the previous examples, you know. I just want you to see how much it's different and more in depth. I will try. I'm doing my best to try to make it very clear, and I hope it benefits everybody. So now I'm breaking down Gyro's facial construction. And if you have seen my previous video on the facial construction of Jojo's characters, usually I point out things by two lines that crosses. For me, like two lines that crosses. You know, this line is like the tip of the nose for me. Like that's how I mark it. And I'm trying to see and apply it here, you know. And as you see, it's quite common here. I think maybe he could be using something similar to it to point out the nose construction, because some stuff like this, for me, what benefits me, it's my dad is an orthodontist, and I've picked some of his book and I've asked him for some explanation on regarding the facial construction, and maybe in one video I could ask him, you know, to come and as well help you guys as well in more depth and details on Jojo's characters. I mean, it would be the first time for him to see Jojo's characters, because I think in like more details, I think I've showed him before, like how the characters look like, and he was very fascinated. He's like, oh, that's very much well good facial construction he got this artist right here. You should look him more. I think it looks good, man. So now I'm gonna try to do the same thing here, but I wouldn't draw, you know, I wouldn't draw over it, because like I think it would feel more that I'm just copying, but I want you guys to see more details then, and in more in depth, so we all could study together, you know, to be very good artists. Because me myself, as you guys, I'm just an amateur artist, you know, and I'm trying to do my best to do some nice art, you know, make some beautiful pinups, beautiful scenery, everything. And my point is not to copy Araki's work. Just the point is for us to study it and benefit from it, because he's very much a mastercraft of his own art, and he established his own style. You know, it's good to have an influence, but it's never been good, you know, to copy somebody's art. And that's not my intention to do it. I just want to study it and analyze it. And that was the whole goal from all these videos you have seen throughout the years. And here's another thing. I have a little note that nobody, like, I don't know if anybody noticed, but there's a little bit of dynamic curved lines, I think, that connect the two characters. And I think that's what gives them very much, I would say, harmonious look. You know, it's like they belong together in the same space. You know, it's like two spaces, you know, collide at the same time. You know, because like if you look at the shape, and I'm gonna try to do some drawing of different, like I would say, balls or shapes where are connected with these curves line, and you see it's like they belong together, yeah, at some point. And I think that's it, what I have for this part, so feel free to like and share and subscribe, because I noticed that YouTube released a lot of views here, and that was quite bizarre, you know. I don't know why, but I've tried to contact them, and they told me like sometimes it happens and they're working on it. But feel free to like and share, subscribe with everybody. Maybe somebody could benefit from it, maybe I could help a different artist. And if you have any questions, you wanna chill, we wanna hang out, we can talk art, and we're cool friends, you know. And I hope you all have a nice day, and please stay safe. I send you a lot of love. Zico, take care.